Well, it was fresh record high once again for the Nifty index, which touched 9,200 on an intraday basis before cooling off to end almost unchanged. So it was just a gain of about 6 points for the Nifty index, ending at 9160. Even with the rupee, Agam, after the steady gains that we had seen over the week, the rupee reversed its 4-day climb today, falling about 13 paise against the dollar, but it nevertheless was the best weekly gains for the rupee in a year.
Sure, and we have seen some really spectacular moves for the rupee. But coming back to the equity markets and what's happening in the futures and options space, as one might expect, we're looking at a little bit of consolidation now that we hit that lifetime high, at least on an intraday basis. But coming to options, we're looking at more writing in puts, and what stands out this time is the 9200 put, the 9100 put, and the 9000 put. So as you can see, the lower end of the range is starting to shift upwards as the Nifty makes newer highs. But when it comes to your range that we're looking at, well, it continues to remain with the 8800 put on the lower end and 9200 on the upside. So we're looking at about a 400 point range for now as we move into next week. And of course, there will be plenty of other events that we'll be keeping an eye on that should also decide as to where the Nifty is heading in going to next week. But well, ITC of course is the biggest gainer in today's
Absolutely, Agam, and the big move in that heavyweight stock actually helped offset the drag on the index that was coming from telecom stocks, auto majors, and even banks today. So your Idea Cellular and Bharti Airtel losing well over 3.5%. You have banks like Bank of Baroda, you had State Bank of India, so your PSU banks, as well as ICICI Bank and Yes Bank, all of them losing to the likes of 1 to 1.5% or so. On the other hand, apart from ITC, of course, you had IT stocks which continue to hold on to the positive territory. So some support coming from the HCL Technologies, Infosys, Wipro and Tech Mahindra, all which ended with marginal gains. But Agam, as we were discussing, tobacco firms really gained today after the GST panel set that extra levy cap.
Right, so the cap is the real big news here, and that's also a positive because given the fact that if you're capping the cess to a certain extent, in this case, we're still waiting how this cap will play out according to the various categories of cigarettes, according to the sizes. But the cap currently stands at around 4,170 rupees for 1,000 sticks, or 290 rupees ad valorem, and of course this will once again, or it could be a combination of both depending on the various categories. Now that this overhang is out of the way is the reason why we're looking at the surge in cigarette manufacturers, and well, that of course is very good news, and that's also the reason why we have seen substantial gains not only in ITC but also in the likes of VST Industries and Godfrey Phillips. So that explains the gains that we've seen in tobacco manufacturers. But there's of course another mid cap that's been standing out through the course of the week.
Absolutely, Agam. Dredging Corporation of India, that stock continues to move upwards despite clarification coming from the company that they're not aware of any government decision to divest stake in the company. Now the government currently holds about 73.5% stake in the company, but it rose as much as 42% this week. In fact, it was a top gainer on the Nifty 500 index for the second consecutive day, and it extended its winning streak for the fourth straight day. That takes it to gains of 40+% for the week. But broadly, the market breadth wasn't very encouraging, Agam, as far as your Nifty 500 index is concerned.
No, actually, well, it wasn't, because we're looking at about 3 gainers for 4 losers. So we're looking at a little bit of a reversal of trend that we've seen in the previous few days, despite the fact that we've seen the benchmarks hit a new lifetime high. So, well, I don't know if this is worrying, but it could be taken as a positive sign, at least as far as the bears are concerned. But let's take a look at some of the gainers. So, Dredging Corp, as Shraddha was mentioning, we've seen continuing gains there, about 8.5%. VST Industries, the beneficiary of the cap that we've seen in the GST rates. Ratan India, as well as Sadbhav Engineering and Torrent Pharma, all gaining anywhere between 5.5% to 6%. Let's also take a look at some of the key losers in today's day of trade. We have losses in Apar Industries. This is down by as much as 7.8%. We are also looking at JP Associates, which has also declined by as much as 6.4%. And on the whole, looking at further weakness in JSW Holdings as well as Brigade Enterprises, and on the whole JP Infra, VA Tech, Vabag also losing anywhere between 3.5 to 4% on an overall basis. So on the whole, it's looking reasonably okay when it comes to some of these losers. Radio City, of course, was the IPO listing that we had today. It listed at a premium of 26%. It came off to a certain extent, but well, it's safe to say that it's had a reasonably good debut on the exchanges. Of course, we will be keeping an eye on DMart, which is expected to list next week, so that will be a big listing to look forward for as far as that's concerned. But that was the week so far. It's been a very good week. We have seen the benchmarks hit new lifetime highs, and we'll have to wait and watch whether or not and if they do move further upwards. But that is all that we have for today. Stay tuned in to Bloomberg Quint, and we'll see you next week.